Okay.
Michael Corbis from Oak Grove. I ask that you please do not cut me off my First Amendment right to free speech tonight, as you have in the past when telling the story I'm about to tell. Tonight, we are going to be revisiting a night last April 2023 campaign event that many of you were at. My wife and daughter and I were there because after having been promised an investigation 6 months earlier by one of you in November of 2022 into the hate and bigotry directed at my daughter, Kylie, who is nonverbal and experiences disability, and son, Levi, that you never followed through on, and the fact that we had been cut off and silenced mid-speech in multiple board meetings leading up to that, we were understandably upset. So that night, my wife and daughter and I got tickets and came to that campaign event looking for answers and justice for our daughter and son. Well, at that campaign event, your campaign manager, who is also a former teacher union rep and teacher, said to my daughter, Kylie, who is a student in this district, and her mom, that she was going to call Child Protective Services and have our Kylie taken away from us. She made a threat out of spite because we don't believe the way she wants us to, and she wanted to silence us and violate our First Amendment right with fear we could lose our daughter if we continue to speak out. That's coercion, which is defined by Google as the practice of persuading someone to do something by using force or threats. Can you imagine if your campaign manager teacher, who from now on I will refer to as your favorite district bully, said to that to a mother and child who identified as part of your activist favorite marginalized group, she would be put on leave and fired before the week was out. You know it, which would be totally justified. But because we identify as Christians and conservatives and don't think and believe like she and you want us to, you gave her a pass and looked the other way. That is religious discrimination, which is a violation of the First Amendment as well. When I told this story last year at the board meeting that followed a few weeks after, the same one of you who promised an investigation cut us off mid-speech on Zoom because you feared it would damage your teacher union-backed candidates from winning the upcoming May 2023 school board election. Another violation of our First Amendments. All this is evidence that you and the administration of the school district have a systemic bias towards people who think and believe differently than you want them to, specifically those who identify as Christians and/or conservatives. Also, you will allow your favorite district bully to get away with making coercive threats in an attempt to squelch or eliminate free speech and First Amendment rights if you fear you might lose an election. It's disgusting. It is wrong and needs to be exposed, and corrective action needs to be taken now. No more violating First Amendment rights and discriminating against somebody because they identify as Christian and conservative. Next time, I'll be speaking on how, because of this incident, FAPE, a free and appropriate education, has been violated for my daughter, Kylie. Right back there. Also, I will reveal what the superintendent said last May 2023, let me finish, to us about FAPE and your favorite district bully, right over in a conference room right over there. All right? I'm going to reveal it. So we need to have a change. All right. Thank you. I guess I can speak extemporaneously here. Yeah, okay. We just so you all know, we're not going away. We are going to continue to come week after week after week, all right, until you actually do something. We've been promised an investigation, okay? And we had one, I can read it to you, that the director of high schools, he did nothing in it. It was a sham of an investigation. You guys know, if it was one of your marginalized groups, you would demand and you would be right to do that. You know it. I talked to you that night. I went up to you. I know it was a awkward time, but I asked you, what would you do as a father if somebody said what they said to my child, to your child? You would demand that they take action, and you would be right. You would. If somebody did what your favorite district bully did, you would demand, you, sir, I didn't talk to you that night. You would demand it. You would demand it. I'm talking to the fathers. I'm talking to you. Now, you reached out to me after my first speech last year, and I appreciate that. But you would demand it. You know you would. I'm talking to you as fathers. I'm not talking to the mothers in the room. I'm talking to fathers. You would demand it. And I would stand up for you. Doesn't matter who does it. If society sees them as marginalized, you would absolutely demand it. If you had any gravity as a father, you would absolutely demand it. And it's disgusting. I had one guy that night. He's a councilman for Milwaukee. Okay. That guy, he stood up for me. I had to look at him for about 3 minutes. I looked at him, he didn't get it. And I kept saying, what would you do? And I saw his face change. I saw it break. And he said, ma'am, tonight's not the night to do it, but I understand. That guy understood me. All right. We don't agree on a lot of stuff, but he understood me that night. But it's disgusting that you can't do it because of my politics and that it will damage you if you come out against this group. Don't you see that's disgusting, especially as fathers? I'm speaking to the fathers. I'm speaking to the fathers online. Democrat, Republican, progressive, conservative, I don't care. It's disgusting. And that's where I want to see the change, is in you guys as fathers. I've seen you post online. All right. That's cool. I'm being respectful, but I'm telling the truth. All right. Don't I have an opportunity to reply? Because you spoke to me.
Chair Benaloga, members of the board. My name is Deb Barnes. I live in Milwaukee and I'm a proud member of the North Clackamas School District, specifically a teacher at the David Schellenberg Center. Today is National Ag Teach Day, and that wouldn't mean much to most people, especially, I'm a broadcasting teacher, and we got to have something extremely exciting to do today, and it involves someone special, just one of the representatives of our advanced journalism department. This young lady's name is Marisol. She is now the editor-in-chief of the Compass newspaper. Last spring, our good friend at the Ag department, who you all know very, very well, who's the teacher there, asked me if I would take on the daunting task of streaming a live national show out of our studio. We've never streamed live out of our studio. We didn't even have streaming services. So we contacted the folks that be and found the grant money, and we included streaming. Today at 10 o'clock, we streamed from our studio with 60 people in our studio, including 40 all over the country ag teachers who joined in the celebration of National Ag Day. Our students worked as the crew. We had never gone live without an actual practice prior to a live show. You would be amazed. No, you wouldn't. You know my kids. My kids were fully up to the task. Every one of them in broadcasting 2 and 3 and advanced journalism took part, and we ran that show, and we ran it well. And the folks from the national level who came out said they were the most professional high school kids they had ever seen. God, that always chokes me up when I hear that. I am proud to be a teacher in this district. And what they got to accomplish today segues into, we are now the first broadcasting and journalism program in the state of Oregon to receive a technical skills certification from the Oregon Association of Broadcasters and approved by the Oregon Department of Ed. I've been pushing for that, and I want to say a real big shout out to Senator Mark Meek, who sometimes, as we all know, we need politics to push certain people at ODE to get things done. And as you also know, I don't shy from asking professional people and at the State House to help us, and they did. So that segues to all of this at the very end. I believe in CTE. We do good things at Save-In-Shellenberg. This is my last year. I'm retiring, but when I retire, I know that our latest statistics show that we have a grad rate this year that just came out. 97% of kids who take 2 years of classes at Save-In-Shellenberg graduate on time, being in our program for 2 years. That's higher than the state average and higher than the county as a whole. Continue to support Save-In-Shellenberg and every kid who goes there, because like Marisol, it makes a difference in their future as soon as they leave high school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, the letters we received consisted of a question about school supplies and the funding, and then a question about the schedule form.
Director Way, will you lead the acknowledgement this evening, please?
We acknowledge the land on which we sit and which we call the North Clackamas School District rests on the traditional and indigenous lands and village sites of the native peoples of the Kalapuya, Chinook, Malala, and the Clackamas. We take this opportunity to offer gratitude for the ability to learn, work, and be a community on this land, and we offer thanks to the original caretakers of this region. We recognize the historic policies of colonization, genocide, relocation, and assimilation that affected Indigenous and Native families, both past and present, and that will affect those in the future, and honor the resilience and revitalization of our Indigenous and Native communities. We pay our respects to the elders, both past and present, who have been the stewards of this land throughout the generations.
Thank you, Director Way. Our flag salute. Will you lead the pledge of allegiance to the flag?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In the board's packet tonight, you will find the minutes of September 7th, 2023 meeting of the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Sure, I make a motion to approve minutes for September 7th, 2023.
McVeigh, second.
It has been properly moved by Director Way and seconded by Director McVeigh that we approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? I will call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The motion passes. We have approved the minutes. Our consent agenda. In the board packet, you will also find a consent agenda for this evening's meeting. The items on the consent agenda is employment changes, North Clackamas School District 2024-2025 budget calendar, and budget committee vacancies. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
McVeigh, make a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes employment changes, budget calendar, and budget committee vacancies.
Wachter, second.
Excellent. It's been moved by Director McVeigh and seconded by Director Wachter that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? I will call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor, aye. All those opposed, nay. Excellent. The motion passes. Consent agenda is approved. So next on the agenda is the Filipino American History Month proclamation. Director Bauer will begin reading the proclamation.
Thank you, Chair Binaloga. Whereas the Filipino American National Historic Society, FANHS, recognizes the first recorded presence of Filipinos in the continental United States occurred on October 18th, 1587, when Luzon's Indios came ashore from the Spanish galleon Nastasa Senora de Esperanza, and landed in what is now Morro Bay, California. And
Whereas Filipino American National Historical Society was first introduced October as Filipino American History Month in 1992, and the theme of this year's celebration is 1898, recognizing 125 years of Philippine American history. And
Whereas administrators help
Oh,
establish.
no.
Here we are. Whereas in 2009, Congress recognized October as Filipino American History Month in the United States, and in 2021, Oregon recognized October as Filipino American History Month. And
Whereas efforts must continue to promote the study of Filipino American history and culture because the role of Filipino Americans and those of other people of color have been overlooked in the writings, teachings, and learnings of the United States. And
whereas we take joy in celebrating the economic, cultural, social, and other notable contributions Filipino Americans have made in countless ways toward the development of the United States. And
Whereas it is imperative for Filipino American youths to have positive role models and to instill in them the importance of education, complemented with the richness of their ethnicity and the values of their legacy.
Is there a motion to approve the proclamation?
Director Dobson, I move we approve the proclamation.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, and is there any discussion? And I, of course, this is near and dear to my heart. Being married to a Filipino American who immigrated here when he was 19. I just do want to share some factual things as well. The Filipino Americans are the second largest Asian American group in the nation and have made significant contributions to the United States. In the early 1920s, many Filipinos called the Manongs left their native country and their family to work in the plantations of Hawaii and California and the fisheries of Washington and Alaska. During World War II, Filipinos both here and in the Philippines fought with and for the U.S. to help protect our freedom and secure peace in our world. In the late 60s and 70s, many Filipino professionals left their native country to help fill the workforce of our rapidly growing technology and health industry. As the families of the Manongs, veterans, and professionals grew, their family members took on critical jobs that helped in the development of our nation's health and economy. Filipino Americans worked in the health field, service industry, hospitality, technology, education, government, armed forces, and construction, among many others. Celebrating Filipino American History Month is important. It is a remembrance and a commemoration long overdue to a group of people referred to by Dr. Fred Cordova as the forgotten Asian Americans, who have significantly contributed to our nation for centuries. Moreover, history validates this existence as a community. And since history is a part of the culture that defines us, awareness of history is the first step to cultural tolerance and appreciation. This year, the Filipino American National Historical Society is honoring the youth. And I think this is especially poignant in a school district. They are honoring the youth that have advocated and continue to advocate for social justice for the Filipino American community for the past 50 years. And we, of course, raising Filipino American children and living two cultures in our home and actually hosting exchange students, so having many other cultures in our home as well. We really do. This is just something very near and dear to my heart. We're very well aware of a lot of the productivity and the greatness that the Filipino Americans have brought to our communities. So we feel very fortunate, and I appreciate the time to be able to share a little bit about that. Does any other director have a comment as well? All right, I will call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor? All those opposed? Excellent, the motion passes. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the North Clackamas School District hereby proclaims the month of October 2023 as Filipino American History Month and encourages all residents to celebrate and honor Filipino American history and culture. Next on the agenda is the School Administrator Month proclamation. Director Bauer will begin reading that one as well.
Thank you, Chair Benaloga. Whereas the vision, dedication, and determination of district administrators provide the mobilizing effort behind school district improvement efforts.
Whereas administrators in their various roles are expected to be educational visionaries, instructional leaders, assessment experts, advocates, community builders, and operational managers, as well as being entrusted with the education and development of young people, the most valuable resource.
Whereas administrators help establish a positive district climate and work collaboratively with staff to develop and maintain high standards and set performance goals and objectives for the district to achieve excellence.
Whereas the North Clackamas School District recognizes outstanding leaders who have succeeded in providing high-quality learning opportunities for children, as well as their exemplary contributions to the profession. Easy for me to say.
Whereas to honor and recognize the contribution of all district administrators to the success of children in North Clackamas elementary and secondary schools, and to encourage residents of North Clackamas to observe School District Administrators Month with appropriate activities that promote awareness of school leadership's role in ensuring that every child has access to a high-quality education.
Is there a motion to approve the proclamation?
Chair Benaloga, I move approval that the board adopt the proclamation recognizing the administrators. I have the wrong one here. Sorry, I did the same thing. Accept the proclamation recognizing, I still have the wrong one. Can I borrow yours? Proclamation recognizing, that still says October, it's Filipino. Recognizing the Administrators Month.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Director Bauer and seconded. Discussion?
Chair Benaloga,
Director Bauer.
I'm still off.
That's okay. That's okay.
I would like to add that personally too, I was raised in a family with my father was an administrator in public schools. And I witnessed the amount of time away from home, serving outside activities and the many roles in the community. And I thought that that was a lot. But witnessing the last couple of years and what it takes to be an administrator and what we're asking of our administrators is even higher. And we know that it's not just technology. We know that it's not just new mandates. It's not solving a variety of problems thrown their way quickly. I remember hearing one administrator saying, I pivot all day. You know, things come at them and they have to learn to deal with it. So I'm so grateful for the work they do, but I would be remiss in also not mentioning, I need to be sure mention, over the last 2 years, we've had administrators here in this room that put themselves between us and other people that weren't being showing civil discourse. And I'm forever grateful for that, sincerely. All of the administrators from all levels in our district have received awards. We've had a superintendent of the year in 2017, 2019, principal of the middle school, Greg Harris, Shelley Reggiani, AASA, American Association of School Administrators, Women in School Leadership Award, 2022, Oregon Health Resources Director of the Year, Mark Moser. So we have people that are recognized nationally. And one other thing I have witnessed is that because we have consistency in some of our administrators, it reflects on our whole community. Since I've been here 34 years, we've had 5 superintendents, I can name them. And there was only one that served maybe 2 or 3 years, Dr. Mills. He came when we were doing a recession. We had to make cuts, numerous teachers. And that's kind of a message now that we need to take in mind. We're facing a levy and we don't want to go there. We've witnessed that a couple times. But all of the other administrators have been here 13, 15, 17 years. And we're so grateful that we have the leader that we have now. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. for stepping up and the countless hours that you put in caring for our students and community. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bauer. I will call for a vote. Is there any other comment by any other director? All right, I will call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Excellent. The motion passes. So be it resolved in honor of the service of administrators and to recognize the importance of their leadership so that every child has access to a high quality education and to celebrate school district leader accomplishments. The month of October 2023 is hereby designated in the North Clackamas School District to be School District Administrator Month, adopted this 21st day of September 2023. Thank you very much. All right. So next on the agenda is the school opening report. I welcome Superintendent Shay James.
So good evening again. Last board meeting, you'll recall we did a soft opening of the school year, and we said we would be back to give more details. And so I'm here with our Assistant Superintendent of Education, Dr. Yvonne Dibley, who will also help me share information and how the beginning of the launch of our school year has gone. There we go. So this year we have continued to focus on aligning our arrows through our strategic plan, and we are doing so through very key strategies, which include our strategic plan key points, our goals, and accountability. We're really looking at organizational service excellence, district-wide aligned instructional strategies. And this year we've been rolling out our defined core values and really talking about how we're going to live our core values so that our students and our staff and our community see that in the work that we do. And those 5 core values are equity, care, integrity, empowerment, and relationships. And so we kicked off this school year with convocation with defining all of our core values and our students sharing what that meant to them, but also looking at relationships specifically. And so each one of our schools did some work around relationships and how they were going to be living that in their buildings and here at all of our district office areas as well. And so I'm going to play a short video for you. And in this video, you will see we are welcoming back staff, and they're all wearing North Clackamas School District t-shirts that have our core values on them. And so that was exciting. We love showing off our staff, as you can see. And so we love seeing the smiles when we look at some of these videos, and particularly where they're sporting their shirts, and we see them often. So we love that folks are proud of them and what they mean and what they represent behind them. So in addition to that, we heard Director Bauer talk about some of the awards that our administrators and other folks have received across our district. And feel so honored to be a part of a district that continues to be an award-winning district because of the staff that we have here. And here you'll see the National School Public Relations Association has awarded our communications team 3 prestigious awards. One is for our Proud to Be NCSD podcast, which has reached over 5,000 listeners, and I think will continue to grow as it's very engaging. We were also awarded an award of excellence for the You're Welcome NCSD video that was done and played last year for our students, and for an award for our 2016 capital construction bond summary publication that landed in every mailbox of all of our residents across our school district and our community. So we're really proud of the work that has happened there. In addition, our finance department just keeps on rocking it. They received yet again the gold standard from the School Business Officials International Association and has been awarded a certificate of excellence in financial reporting for the 2022 school fiscal year, I should say. And our finance team was awarded this distinguished honor for their dedication and transparency to our financial and economic state of our district, including our communication and building trust and engaging with our community, while demonstrating a commitment to financial stewardship and transparency. So this is an award that they have continued to receive over the last few years. And I really just want to have a public thank you and congratulations to our finance department and our communications department for their hard work and well-deserved awards. We continue to finalize and true up our K-12 enrollment numbers, and this week was the cutoff to remove any students out of our system who have not yet shown up for the school year. So while we don't have firm numbers, I'm giving you what we have as of this week, but these numbers will change a little bit. We will bring some more firm numbers to you in October when we present on enrollment and class sizes. So I think I've got my 2 slides. I'm in a reversed here, but that's okay. We'll do. So here you can see that we are up past 17,000 students, which is really great for us, inching back into our pre-pandemic numbers, which we have had over 17,000 students for quite a while. So we're thrilled to see this number and hope that it will continue to inch up as well. And here you will be able to see that we're up in approximately all of our areas with the exception of kindergarten, which we're down about 75 students, which I think makes sense in terms of the way that the pandemic affected how our kindergartner students when they enrolled and when they didn't. And we had a bit of a balloon year as we had some parents that waited to enroll their students. And so this is, I would say, more normalizing numbers back to pre-pandemic as well. And our charter schools continue to remain stable with that. We continue to have high needs and support our families through the Wichita Center. And so I just want to put out and remind folks that we are so happy to take donations, and we really want to make sure that our families feel safe and know that they are welcome to come to Wichita Center, and we will do all that we can to support them in any service that is needed. And here you can see we offer many services that are within the same location, and we want people to feel welcome to come in and to receive those. And grateful for our staff who continue to run this and for folks that continue to donate to Wichita Center. We continue to run our CARE program at 7 of our elementary locations. And this year we have just shy of 600 students enrolled. Unfortunately, we currently have 215 students that continue to be on the wait list. We are working to continue to hire. We have 12 vacancies that are there that would allow us to bring more students into the program and get students off of the wait list. So we just want to remind our community that if you're interested in coming to work with our littles, it's an amazing job, and that staff does amazing things with our students. And so we welcome that, but we have been able to hire folks and coming into the program and look forward to continuing to grow that. Our 21st Century Grant covers after-school academic supports and enrichment programs for families, for our students in 3 of our schools, Lot Whitcomb, Rao Middle School, and New Urban High School, as well as support literacy efforts, mental health work, and CTE programming for middle schoolers at those locations. And really, actually, I would say support CTE across all more than just Rao in our middle school. We were awarded another grant through 2028 as our current 21st Century Grant was due to sunset. And I want to thank our staff who worked on this grant renewal. It was a very large grant and a very heavy lift, and folks did a lot of late nights and a lot of work to get that renewed so that our students could have those opportunities. And so that's something that we're pretty happy with. Our operations team under our Assistant Superintendent of Operation continues to be hard at work. Always amazed by the things that are happening. I was able to go up on a rooftop at Milwaukee High School today with our maintenance workers and talk to them about some of the work that they were doing with HVAC. And that was pretty phenomenal to see it up front and close. And hopefully something should be coming out soon in the next few weeks around that. But in the meantime, I just want to say our communications department has been hard at work this summer and continues into the fall. They've really been showing up for a lot of community events, farmers markets, First Friday, movies in the park, and quite a bit more. And it's really been fun to interact with the community and listening to what they've talked about. Gabe is the ultimate, what do you call it? Button maker. I was going to say stamp maker, but button maker with kids. And it's been pretty fun to see how that has played out. And another award, we're super proud of our own Keith Garrett for earning the Oregon Pupil Transportation Trainer of the Year award. And so that's exciting. And I hope that we get him here in front of folks to see who he is and really give him a clap up, because our transportation department is another department that continues to earn awards and continues to keep safety at the priority in getting our kids to and from school. They're the first people our kids get to see in the daytime as they're on their way to the school, and the last folks as they get off the bus and leave the school. So we're grateful for the work that they do. We were able to add additional slots at 2 care site locations this year. We still have a large waiting list, but we are grateful that we were able to add some slots and hope that we can continue to build on that. And I'm excited that our tennis court projects are almost completed. Clackamas High School is actually complete, and we are finalizing the tennis courts at Alder Creek and Rex Putnam. So that will be something that will be great for not only our students, but also for our community. And if you recall, we were able to open the first North Clackamas School District preschool at Oak Grove Center with the Preschool Promise Grant last January. We were one of 3 school districts who are awarded this grant, and I will tell you, we have quickly become a model for the state of Oregon. And so we're really, we're just so proud of the work that's happening. We were visiting the class, Dr. Dibley and I, this last week. I was trying to think when the days are getting mixed up here, but we were there, and just to see that classroom firsthand and to see the learning that the students are doing was incredible. I would encourage you, if you have a moment, to swing by Oak Grove and really take a look at the preschool classroom. It is a model classroom, and I know that we're going to have a lot of folks coming through, seeing what we're doing and what our students are learning that are just going to catapult them as they continue to move up through our system. We're in year 2 of the preschool, and currently we have 17 of the 18 slots filled. And we're also really encouraged by the collaboration that's taking place between Oak Grove Elementary, our preschool Head Start, and other things. And so it's been great learning experience for me as I'm in there with the littles, and I hear stories about people going in and the kids doing their hair and their nails and all kinds of fun stuff. So that's been pretty awesome. And our HR department has been busy hiring spring, summer, into the fall. And we continue to hire in high needs areas, and our communications department is continuously advertising to our community also, not only just for certified and classified positions, but also we have operations positions that don't require certificates or certain things. And so we want to make sure that folks know that who live in our community. I can share with you that we have hired or rehired a total of 276 staff members. That's through September 15th. And that's 20 more than we had hired last year at this time. So the need has not decreased and the workload has not decreased. They continue to do that. And this does not include our substitutes as well. And so when you put substitutes on top of that, it's been a lot with a very small department. And so I just want to say how grateful that I am for our HR department, who just works tirelessly, and you just never hear it. They just get it done. So thank you to our HR department for that. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Dibley, who will take you through some instructional learning with our strategic plan.
Thank you, Dr. James. Good evening, directors. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. First, I'd like to say thank you to our operations colleagues, because we couldn't do the instructional end without our operations team. So a special thanks there. And our instructional team has very much leaned into our strategic plan. As we know, the plan is really meaningless without the actions behind it. And so we've really honed in on ensuring that we have the focus to look at our instructional goals and ensure that our students are learning. And if we prioritize everything, then we don't prioritize anything. So we're very purposeful in how we're moving forward with these plans. Additionally, as Dr. James said, we are focused on incorporating our core values and are happy to start with relationships, because relationships are really a key to learning. If we don't get to know each other, if we don't get to know our students, if we don't know what their needs are, then we really can't reach them through instruction. So our team, appropriately so, is looking at student experiences and success as our goal. As we look at welcoming staff and growing professionally, collaboration is definitely a touchstone to our work. We have to collaborate. We lean in on the word interdependence, because what is good for one is good for all. And inevitably, those actions that we take either benefit or cause consequence for each other. Definitely, August is a busy month for us, where we have a lot of professional development. Our teachers come in. They are paid for their work because it's not part of their work year. But it is a time where we learn together, we prepare for the year, and it gives us an opportunity to plan as well. I think the way that we handle professional development is that we take the time to, again, learn from our facilitating experts that bring the joy of their content areas and their expertise to the work through deep connections. We also have collaboration and modeling of the work. So that modeling provides an opportunity for everybody to be part of seeing and understanding what we want to see in each and every one of our classrooms or each of our schools. And it also provides a time to plan. So I want to share a story. I was part of a kindergarten professional development opportunity. And so all of our kindergarten teachers were together. They were all learning and actually taking part in the actual activities that our kindergartners would be doing, practicing painting, looking at the different loose parts, really being connected with the materials. And then after the professional development opportunity, they get to walk away with materials for their classrooms. So they have an opportunity to plan together. They have materials, they've experienced the learning, and it's a really rich environment. For our administrators, our executive directors often plan slide decks that walk everybody through the actual pieces. So no one has to go out of a professional development with additional work to do. They have the opportunity to have the materials that will set them up for success. Two areas that I think are really great to identify is we had a wonderful opportunity for our classified staff. They had an opportunity to come together for 2 hours and experience, have some choice in the things that they wanted to learn. And that had anything to do with their personal wellness, to supporting the classroom, to supporting behavior, and just making connections. And again, we couldn't have done that without our operations colleagues, because they helped us get all of the buildings ready and in the learning spaces for us to hold that opportunity. And additionally, every single one of our departments collaborated in ensuring that that was a positive experience for the staff. Moreover, we also had an opportunity to do some calibration for evaluation and observation. We know that evaluations do not change practice. However, constant feedback, which is actually part of our work this year with our high five strategies, is what changes practice. So we want to make sure that everybody is having the opportunity to learn, and that we as administrators calibrate our work so we can go ahead and help our teachers and support them. We have one simple goal, and it isn't so simple because we keep working at it, and it's a multi-year goal, and that is to strengthen universal core instruction. And I'm going to have you think about stepping into a mall. And when you step into a mall, I often use this analogy: you have ramps, you have stairs, you have escalators, you have elevators, and those specific ways of connecting place to place have very specific reasons on why they were part of the mall. However, we don't say only this group of people can use the stairs and only this group of people can use the elevators. Instead, all of those aspects are there available for us to use in our own choosing. That, in essence, is what we mean by Tier 1 instruction. We think about what is needed for each one of our students, but it is available universally for all of our students to access when they need it. So the way that we do that is we look at high quality instruction. We have leaned into what we call our high five, because those are proven strategies. They are best strategies, best practices that have a multitude of years and decades of research that back up the reasons of why those are best practices. And so we are teachers. Teaching is a science. Science leans on research. So we lean on that piece of work to support our steps. These strategies benefit all students. So it doesn't matter whether you need or you have an individualized plan, or you are tagged, or you are just benchmark and proficient in the grade level that you are. We know that those strategies are proven to support all students. We also lean into the idea that we want students to be engaged in their learning and to really own their learning. So we ask questions, and we want to make sure that those tasks that they are a part of are meaningful. And that is part of the collaboration aspect of those high five strategies. And our teachers assess constantly. We don't wait till the end of the year for SBAC scores. We assess daily to see what students are learning, what they're not learning, and then what we're doing about that learning. Most excitingly, I would say that all of our 32 schools are engaging in professional learning communities. We have provided a format where teacher teams, whether it's grade level teams or content level teams, come together and they ask each other 4 meaningful questions that basically get at, what am I teaching? Why am I teaching that? How do I know students have learned that? What am I going to do about the students that haven't? And then they really get to problem solve and strategize. So we provide the structure, but teachers have the autonomy and the expertise to have those conversations about the learning. And lastly, I would say that we very much lean on this idea that you can improve what you don't measure. And while this slide is a little bit messy, the reason is pretty simple. We often talk about goals in a very generalized way, but I want to make sure that I underscore that all of our professionals, all of our administrators in the instructional aspect of our work have created sophisticated drafts of goals that we are working through. And I share those are italicized. Again, they are in draft form because we are collecting data, we are finalizing our baseline, and we want to move our work forward. So it's very important to us, and our goal is really to advance student learning while we create meaningful environments that honor each and every one of our students. So I'm very proud of the work that all of our executive directors, associate directors, coordinators do each and every day. And this, I hope, is an example that we look at data and we look at student learning each and every day to ensure that we are bringing our best foot forward. And as I mentioned, relationships are key to any kind of learning that happens in our school, but they're also important for the relationship that we have with one another. One of the things that we have really tried to do is to de-silo, again, those departments, and we're working together. So it's very enriching to understand how, for example, our secondary colleagues are helping our elementary colleagues, and we are working together in administrative meetings. We have technology supporting both of our program levels. Teaching and learning and professional development works together with elementary programs to ensure that we're bringing, again, the best practices in literacy and to ensure that those are happening each and every day. Everybody communicates, we're all teaming, and we all bring our different expertise, but no one is left in isolation. And that is really a marker to the work that we are doing. And with that, Dr. James and I are here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much. Is there any discussion or questions? Directors? Director McVeigh?
Thank you for the report. Love this report. I guess, what are you nervous about for the school year right now, besides the levy?
Yes, the levy is definitely, I would say, really there's a shortage in work staff. And so that is a piece that has been difficult and continues to be difficult in looking to fill the vacant positions that we have to make sure that we're running and operating as smoothly as we can. So I would say.
Director Walker.
Super report. I love to hear about all the kudos and awards and things that are happening because there's oftentimes great things that are happening that don't get awards. So it's really great to like step up and say, this is happening. This is recognized nationally or statewide. Really proud of that work. And so success actually breeds more success in that way. And so I'm curious just to go back to the very beginning, Dr. James, around the enrollment numbers of 17,058 students.
Yes.
Precisely. What is the target and that we're really wanting to get back to? What is that sweet spot number? And is there anything that can be done other than being a successful school district to draw that number back up to where it needs to be?
Yeah, I heard someone say in the last few weeks that we really are, and I don't mean this in this way, but they said you really are a victim of your success at North Clackamas in terms of we keep, our students and our families want to be in our school systems. And so while we don't see it as a victim, we are very happy that families want to be in our school district. We have not put a specific number on what we're hoping to get, right? We work with who is here. We do have demographers that we work with that, anticipate and look at all of the information to share with us what they think that our numbers are going to be at. And, there's been a lot of factors within that. I'd say we have the pandemic, but we also have a lot of growth that's happening in different parts of our district on both the east side and the west side. And so that's been a piece for us in trying to, although the demographers give us what they think, it's never right on, it's not it's a best guess based on the information. And so really trying to nail that information down. But I will say, we are proud that our numbers are going back up. That is not the case with all the districts across our state, and it's not the case with all the districts across the nation. Many folks have lost students and they don't know where they've gone and they haven't come back. And our students, we are continuing to see our students either returning or folks are coming in. And so that makes us happy. So we're on the right trajectory here.
All right. Thank you. Director Way.
Yes, I also echo the excellent presentation and I love the detail. Some of the slides were very full, but I was trying to read through them. I was like, wow, there's so much information and content and it's only September, which is what I have to remind myself. So great work. I just have a question around the teaching and the just the magic that happens in the classroom, right? When teachers are educating students. And so we know that the state in the past and just recently, they've worked on bills that addresses curriculum and one particularly is kind of building on ethnic studies and, making sure that the curriculum is sort of reflecting the histories of various populations and groups. And so I'm just curious when it comes to, again, curriculum adoption and implementation, and then just what really happens on the ground in the classroom. Do you feel like teachers are being heard and supported through all of the ways that, the state sometimes can come in and say, hey, we want you to teach X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that we as an exec team try to minimize as much of that as possible so teachers can do what they are experts in doing. And so we basically try to take the noise and then translate that noise in ways that are manageable. I think that our district, because of its stance as, an equity-focused district, we look at barriers, we look at different ways in which students can see themselves in the curriculum. I think that our teaching and learning and professional development department does a fantastic job of ensuring, as you will have seen those presentations when we've come up with curriculum adoptions. For example, our social sciences are nestled and really grounded in tribal history, shared history. And again, even with our little ones, our K2 reading, we're looking at decodable books, and we're looking at ways in which students can see themselves in the literature, and look at ways in which we have authors and illustrators that share that affinity with the writing that is done. So again, it is about being critical, and it's about doing the things that we can to ensure that our curriculum is mirroring our student population. One of the things that we often say is that curriculum is a tool, and that's why we work so hard to ensure that we have instructional practices that our teachers can follow and that they know. So if you're brand new to the district, we say, this is what literacy looks like in a second grade classroom. And there shouldn't be no question about what that is, yet still honors what a teacher brings to the classroom and their expertise.
I think it's important to add, though, in general, teaching is hard. It is hard work. And our teachers, they work tirelessly to make sure our students have what they need and are learning. And I will say that the job, I think, is becoming increasingly harder as time goes on for a lot of different reasons. And you talked about things that are coming out, we had a huge packet of legislative initiatives that were passed this year with very little time to implement. And what does that mean for us, and to pull that off? And as she said, we try to take that noise away, but it's felt. There's no way that it can't be. And it's hard. And I think it's while we do our best, I also want to acknowledge that piece of it.
Thank you. Do any other directors? Director Bauer?
Thank you, Chair Benaloga. Thank you for the presentation. And again, I like the details too. And I couldn't read the goals. So maybe if you could even just share that with us. I was reading some of it. It was great. I was going to ask about enrollment too, because a couple things have come up as I'm out talking to community about levy, and the enrollment came up today. There's some real misunderstanding. They think that they hear that enrollment is down. They couldn't believe that in North Clackamas, it's increasing. So we need to get that out, us as board members, community people. So I think, was it the last 2 years that it increased since the pandemic? Was it something like that?
We have been increasing for the last 2 years, but we have not yet
Reached the
reached
original.
our pre-pandemic
Yes. Okay.
numbers. Yes.
But like you said, a lot or most districts, public schools are not increasing. So the person I was talking to could not even believe that. So anyway, so keep getting that information out, or I will too. Also, sharing the excellence in financial reporting. That was another topic that came up. And I think I would love that slide too. If you could share that with me. Thank you for the report and learning about the professional development and team. I think that's great. I had one other question about, I saw something, ambitious math teaching. Can you expand on that?
I can't give you the details, but we work with a teacher development group to ensure that we have a framework for students to work through math in a way that supports risk-taking, identifying obstacles. And as you know, the way that teaching math is, or how kids learn math is very different than how perhaps I learned math long ago. So again, that is just a way that that was the name of the session. And we had information obviously from the Oregon Department of Education dealing with teaching habits of mind. And again, really focused as we are getting ready to pilot our math adoption. So we are very excited for that work. So it's a little bit of an anticipatory set for that work.
Great. Thank you. And thank you for all the information in the report.
Thank you. Do any other directors have a comment or question? Director
Yes.
Dobson?
Thank you, Chair Benaloga. Well, I'll echo the thank you for the report. I know at our last meeting, your presentation was, cheerful and full of excitement because it was back to school and everything was new and fresh now we're down in the dirt. Right. And I just want to acknowledge, that you and all of the administrative staff and the teachers are digging like to save their lives and will be for the rest of the school year. This is the hard work. And, the first day, the first week is fun, but the shine wears off. And now everyone gives their best effort. And, I see that in the work that you're presenting already and in the work that the teachers have done so far this year. And just want to say, I see you. And then also, I think you should just share the whole slide deck with all of us because we're just a bunch of nerds. And I saw metacognitive strategies on there. And I think that's something else that we can, educate the community about, how students are learning. I mean, the teaching, the questioning, the thinking aloud, the summarizing, like this is all new, to a lot of people, and they don't necessarily understand how transformative it can be when students process information in this way and leave with a depth of understanding that they didn't have before. So I'll have that slide too. So thanks.
All right, thank you. Director Kemp?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for the report. It was really good to see and hear the details. I think, with the student enrollment increasing, not yet back to pre-pandemic levels, but increasing speaks to the district, the quality of the district, quality of the staff in the district, and just to the overall community. So that's good work by everybody to get those numbers back up. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I too just want to thank you for the very thorough, and I'm sure it took a lot of time to put it together. So I appreciate that as well, to give us that information. I just had a couple of questions. It said that 450 student increase in high school. Do we know, that's a lot? Do we know where that is? Was that specifically kids leaving VOP or leaving virtual programs, or is that a big increase for 1 year?
I don't have that exact information, but we will get that to you ASAP.
Okay.
So absolutely.
All right, thank you. And I also just want to tie this in. Several of us have been meeting with Stan about House Bill 3198. So how does that money that we're going to get for early literacy, how is that going to tie in with those instructional goals, especially those goals that we have for our elementary school kids? And then what concerns do you have for staffing? Because I know that there maybe is some concern over those high dosage tutors. Like, how are we going to get all these reading specialists that maybe actually don't exist right now? So how are we, and then we're all going to be competing for the same talent, right? So how are we going to use that money, or is there a plan to use those funds? And then what is your thoughts for staffing?
I can answer on the instructional end. I mean, definitely we are in the beginning stages of just brainstorming and understanding again what the needs are, what have we learned, what's going well, because we've actually taken some of the student investment account funding to support innovative ways in which we're supporting that early literacy. So we have rich information about what's working and areas that we could lean into additionally. I think the other piece is that when we did some exploration about best practices for preschool, when we were learning about that preschool aspect, we really translated that K1 and 2 and even to 3. So what's good for preschool, and we know the research behind preschool, we can extend to that early literacy in K2. And as you know, we really pay attention to the 3rd grade reading level because that has a lot of ramifications. So that's a big summative score that we want to make sure that we are changing and trending upwards. So in saying that, that is part of the exploration. I think that we lean into how we can get that funding in students' hands. And by that, I mean, how do we utilize funding so that it is something that students can have tactile, because we know that when they are tactile, when they have multiple ways of learning, so there are ways in which we can use the funding that is not just staffing. Because oftentimes we think of more staff and then we get stuck in a spiral where, again, we can't find the staff. And obviously, if we do have staff, we want to make sure that there is a very specific need, specific job, specific role that really complements what we're already doing. And I think that's one of the reasons why also we have such a broad goal in establishing core universal instruction, because it allows us to really say, here's what the research says, here are the practices we're leaning into, and this is how it looks like K3. And so we're able to do that, and there's nothing that's in competition. So we're excited about getting together, and again, that cross collaboration from teaching and learning, from our elementary programs, from our teachers, from understanding what their perspective is, so we can really have a well-rounded narrative around what funds we need and how we're going to use those.
I would also add, we've been fortunate enough, we have an amazing early literacy team under our elementary programs that works in concert with teaching and learning. And they have been building capacity within the staff that we have around literacy practices, endorsements, certificates, and really have been taking that on. And so we have cohorts led by some of our instructional literacy coaches. And I can tell you, like last year, we did some really intensive, deep work with 30 of our elementary teachers that are already on staff and digging down. And then we're expanding that this year. And so, as she said, because I think we've started the work earlier, we're building capacity within our own district. Now we just got to keep other districts from coming after the folks that we've been training, because we have been early birds to the work, I would say.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
I'm sorry, I have a follow-up question. Sorry. Preschool, do we have the real estate, the skill and the will, or is it more of an experiment to roll this out and more across the district? Because 18 students, when there's a need probably for a lot more.
I will say, and then she may have added, I believe we absolutely have the skill and the will. We have some amazing, like I said, early literacy folks that are collaborating together. We're working with partners, our Clackamas Education Service District, our teaching and learning department to do this work. I think some of our challenges that are going to come is in capacity within our buildings. And so having enough classrooms to be able to bring this on. Also, I would say our transportation. And so that's another place that we've been short-staffed. And so being able to make sure that we have the folks to add on in that way is what I would say is my concerns.
All right. Thank you. Any further comments? Thank you so much for the report and the presentation. Thank you. So next on the agenda is authorization to award contracts for temporary staffing services. I welcome Executive Director of Human Services, Michelle Riddell.
Thank you. Good evening, directors. So I am here tonight to get your approval to award contracts to temporary staffing agencies to fill some of our hard to fill vacancies and leaves of absence. while we continue to recruit and look to hire our own staff. I think you've heard a little bit of that already in our last presentation, just under that we have some really hard to fill specialist positions. And so this will help fill that need while we look to hire our own. Happy to take questions.
I'll make a motion to authorize the superintendent to award multiple contracts for temporary staffing agencies to fill current hard to fill vacancies not to exceed 1.2 million.
Second.
It's been properly moved by. Excuse me, it's been properly moved by Director McVeigh, seconded by Director Bauer. Is there any discussion? I will call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor, aye. And I'm aye as well. And those opposed? Excellent. The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is authorization to purchase Google Workspace. I welcome Assistant Superintendent of Operations, Cindy Deschen.
Thank you. Joining me is our Director of Technology and Information Services, Leanne Shearer. Pursuant to our purchasing rules, we can ask our board to provide advance authorization to execute a class of contracts. And in this case, that class of contracts is a set of software licenses, and that is for our Google Workspace consortium of software. This is not new to the district in any way, shape, or form, but it is the first time that it will exceed the $150,000 mark, and which is why we're coming forward to you. We haven't hit that. Again, it's that advanced authorization that we're seeking, so that as we go through the course of the year, we can provide that Google platform for both our students and our staff to do their work and the learning that we need them to do. Leanne can answer any of the technical questions, but otherwise we're here to seek your approval.
Is there any discussion? Do any directors have a question or comment? Yes, Director Bauer.
I just had one question. You answered the class of contracts, but so budget impact technology information services. So it's within the budget for this year.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve the advance authorization for the routine and reoccurring computer software purchase of the Google Workspace for Education platform that may exceed $150,000 when purchased through the required competitive procurement rules.
Is there a second?
Second, Bauer.
It's been moved by Director McVeigh and seconded by Director Bauer. Is there any other discussion? I will call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
I am aye as well. All those opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And then next on the agenda is the contract award for school-based mental health therapy and substance abuse disorder prevention. I welcome Assistant Superintendent of Education, Yvonne Dibley.
Hello again, and I am here with Director of Student and Family Services as well as Integrated Programs, Jennifer Dove-Kiltow, and we are bringing forward this item for discussion and action.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. As Dr. Dibley stated, we're seeking board approval for contracts for school-based mental health and behavioral health services to two different organizations, Stronger Oregon and Northwest Family Services. As a district, we've heard over the past several years from our community about the growing concerns and need for mental health supports in our school. Last year, many of you remember that we did a district-wide needs assessment and to determine priority areas of support in North Clackamas to be supported with the funds from the Student Investment Account and High School Success. And overwhelmingly, the data that we collected and analyzed by the needs assessment team showed student mental health support as a priority area. And in addition, at a school board meeting last year, we had several brave students show their leadership as they advocated for continued mental health services. They also advocated for these needs in Salem. So if you can imagine being a high school student and being brave enough and to be vulnerable in those platforms, we're very proud of them for expressing their needs and wants and advocating for those needs. It's because of their voices that we looked at how contracts were structured and opened up an RFP to ensure that we are getting the best plan of services for our students. Our past contract was originally in the amount of $625,000. However, the provider was unable to fulfill parts of that contract, and our students were receiving fewer services than they needed and deserved. So we renegotiated the terms of that contract, which resulted in a final cost of $495,000. Tonight, there are two proposed contracts, one with Stronger Oregon, which will provide in-person therapy with the option for virtual if needed and asked for by 17.5 therapists. This contract also includes prevention services and funding for services that are may not be covered by students' insurance. In addition, in order to continue to effectively address substance abuse, we have a proposed contract with Northwest Family Services for 4 substance use and abuse therapists. They will provide assessments, individual and group treatment, education and health classes, and host evening events as well. So the proposed contract for these services are $250,000 for Stronger Oregon using funds from the student investment account, and $238,165 for Northwest Family Services using funds from the high school success. These are new partnerships for us, and we are hopeful that our students will receive the services that they need and deserve. So I look forward to updating you in the future, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Directors, does anyone have any questions or comments? Director Bauer?
Thank you, Chair Benaloga. Thank you for listening to our community and our students. And I'm amazed at what you've been able to do, even at a lower cost per therapist. But this sounds like quality, you're meeting needs and listening. Thank you so much.
Great. I love this this improvement in access. This is really meaningful. It's not a little bit, it's a lot of access improvement. I'm super pleased to see that. As everyone in this room knows, Oregon ranks near the lowest in the whole country. And that's something we want to be known for in behavioral health access for Oregonians, but also for our youth. And that's really serious. I'm super proud that North Clackamas is making these contracts happen. So I'm curious, 2 things real quick. How do we measure that these 2 new contracts will be successful? What are we looking for as indicators? And secondly, are there any tools that these contractors bring that will help us risk stratify and identify our students that need to see the counselors and the SUD support folks sooner than later?
So to answer one of your questions with indicators, certainly we're going to make sure that they follow through with what they're contracted to follow through with, so that they have the number of therapists in buildings to support students. They will be sharing with us numbers of students that they are supporting. We have that data, or we will collect that data. We also will have the substance abuse data and know how many students are being that potentially would have normally been suspended for a certain amount of days, how many assessments that they do on those students, so as to mitigate those number of days and then provide ongoing support. We'll also, of course, collect data around and hold them accountable to those extended services that they are going to provide, like parent nights and classes in our health classrooms, so the preventative measures as well. As far as what tools they may bring, I don't know, and am happy to ask those questions and get back to you.
Thank you.
Director Wachter, I will say that prior to starting the RFP, and as Director Kiltau was sharing that we were having a lapse in some of the services, the way that the contract was structured is we really looked at what kind of interim measures can we go ahead and have so that when we meet quarterly or however routinely, that we are able to have honest conversations with our providers about, hey, yes,
Mm.
you're reaching this level of service, or no, you are not reaching the level of service. That is in fact why we were able to renegotiate some of the contracts that we had last year. So that's a piece on that end. Additionally, I think that last year we actually ran a pilot with one of our proposed contracts, and we had an overwhelming review from the counselors and individuals that were really dealing with this pilot, that were saying, this is really what it should feel like. This is what we want to see more of. So we had direct information from the actual individuals that were having those experiences. I would say that furthermore, Dr. James and I engaged in many listening sessions. This is not just a place for us to connect with our staff members from all over the district, but for us to learn. I think we started the first year in our positions and have continued. And one of the listening sessions was with our social workers who had a lot of information. And while we are establishing these and actually getting these off the ground, we are looking into the possibility of bringing in the acronym is SBIRT, which is the Screening, Brief Intervention, and Referral to Treatment. And they were very excited about that tool. They wanted to bring that forward to us. And what I get excited about, as I just shared in a previous report about a multi-tiered system of support in Tier 1, is that this again is aligned right with what we do instructionally. So having a tool like this would give us information, critical information about prevention and about who's at risk, who might be at risk. And then it allows us to actually be proactive instead of reactive, which oftentimes is how a lot of these services are rendered, right? We wait for something to happen and then we provide the support. So we are looking into it. We don't have anything established yet, but I did want to make sure that I mentioned that because that came directly from our social workers.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I would love to hear more about the SBIRT and how we might, if there's good evidence behind it and how we might use it. Thank you.
All right.
Just one comment. I just want to say mental health services are not a one size fits all. And I so appreciate that that we're taking a look at what the client needs in terms of some kiddos need eyeball to eyeball and some need the safety of the online. And so I really appreciate finding a provider that can do both.
Thank you. Director Way, I believe you have a question or a comment.
I know this is a very important topic, so I wanted to just share, but thank you for really diving in and looking into, what is it going to take, right? That we need as a district to really fully meet the needs of our youth. And so thank you for bringing their voices in last year. I know that several of them did go to Salem and also came really bravely before us to share their stories. And so you answered a lot of the questions that I had around the prevention services. And I'm really, really glad that you just highlighted that because it's so important to do the screening, to, do the family nights, right? Do a lot of these community focused events before treatment. And then my question was around, as you're looking at, again, these contracts and these new providers, I hope that they also bring with them value around cultural competency and cultural sensitivity because of the diversity that we see in our district with, many kids identifying with various races and ethnicities.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That has been a big piece of our conversations with them. They understand where we stand as a district. They are working hard to find therapists that meet our specific needs of our students. That being said, we know that, and it's come up tonight even, that we all, as school districts, we vie for the same people. And so they are doing their best they can to meet those needs. And that goes for a variety of different students, including language and their cultural needs as well. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Is there any other comments or questions? All right, thank you. I do have just a couple of things. Thank you for listening to our kids, because they came to us last year. And I went to Salem with a group of kids that spoke passionately and had real solutions and had ideas and how things could be improved for them and for the mental health of them, for their friends, for the emotional health. And I think that's so important. I know that this is an annual contract, but I do have concerns about just continuity and stability. And hopefully this is something that we can move forward with. What are your thoughts on, I know that this is annual, but then what are your thoughts on, and I appreciate that we walked away, that we looked for other providers that can actually service all of our, many of our students as we can. But what is your thought as to like continuity?
Well, certainly that's our goal, because we don't want to have families and our students experiencing a lot of movement of therapists. For me, it's really making sure that we're having open conversations and holding people accountable to what's in the contract, to collecting data. We have what I believe to be a very strong start to a solid relationship with these folks. They've been very open with us, and we with them. We've shared our concerns around what you're talking about. And though while there's no guarantees, obviously, I do believe that we've learned some things in the past few years, and keeping that student voice in mind is really key for us. I tend to be a direct person, and so I'm okay being direct with people. And when it comes to contracts and our students, I want to make sure that we're getting what we're paying for. So short of that, obviously we have the support of our superintendent and our assistant superintendent, and we'll work hard to make sure that we keep these relationships strong and solid. Some of the folks we've had relationships with for years. Northwest Family Services has been in our district for quite a while, and so we know that we know that they're committed to our district, and we feel really good about continuing and building that relationship. Stronger Oregon is new for us, but again, we've been having some really open conversations with them about what the needs of our district are, and they seem to be responding.
Excellent, thank you. And then just to kind of piggyback on what Director Way was talking about, being culturally responsive, that is definitely something we heard from our students, that therapy and asking for help looks different in a lot of our households. So I think that is so important that we have therapists and we have social workers and we have people that understand that therapy and emotional support and mental health supports look different for a lot of cultures and for different families, and just making sure that we're being as responsive as possible. We really have some amazing, brave kids in this district that came to us and went to Salem and truly advocated for themselves. And I think you for putting them first, for listening to their voices, for hearing what they were and were not getting and what was and was not working for them, and making the changes that's really going to hopefully change lives in our district. So I thank you for that. Are there any other questions or comments? Director Dobson.
Thank you, Chair Benaloga. I just had one question, since it's a new provider. Do you have a mechanism for students and families to report on their experiences with and evaluations of these providers as they interact with them throughout the year?
So we, nothing specific for that purpose. However, part of the integrated application process has been to wrap back around to the needs of our families and do a check-in, right? And so one of the things that I see us doing is going back to some of those students who reported to the board and were in Salem to advocate and see how things are going. For our counselors and our social workers who are making some of these referrals, to wrap back around to the families and make sure their needs are getting met. So we don't have a specific tool to measure that. It's a softer tool, right? It's the people in the buildings with the families asking the questions.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, thank you. Yes, Director Kemp.
I'm just curious on the overall cost. Is there like an hours limit or how do you, I see all the numbers of staff that are available, but how does that relate to, say, the number of hours of service that are provided throughout the district? And is there some limit?
Yeah, so I can't tell you exactly. I have to get you the exact numbers. But it was explained to me that FTE for therapists, the hours spent is different than, say, what we would equate a licensed teacher or counselor to be FTE wise. So I can get you those numbers. I just don't think I can articulate it properly, not having been in that field.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right.
Chair, can I make a motion to approve the contract for school-based mental health and behavioral health services to Stronger Oregon and Northwest Family Services to provide mental health and substance use disorder prevention services not to exceed $600,000 annually?
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved by Director Wachter and seconded by Director Bauer. I will call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
I am aye as well, and all those opposed? It has unanimously passed. Thank you. And before we adjourn, I want to leave you with a Japanese proverb, because I believe we are in the room with many great educators, that better than 1,000 days of diligent study is one day with a great teacher. And luckily, our district is full of many, many great teachers. So thank you all so much. It is now 8:09 p.m. and this public meeting of the North Clackamas School District Board of Directors is adjourned. Have a good